supportive in their homes, what are those challenges they also face but have overcome?
Or are still struggling with?
And for me, that's the catching point.
Oh, yes.
It is not that they are not struggling.
Of course.
Financially.
Who doesn't struggle?
It's not that they wake up, they never wake up in the morning and don't feel like, getting up in the morning and calling the family to pray together. They actually have those moments.
Oh, yes.
But there's that part of them that comes out, and that's the firmness that comes out to say, I must show up at the altar in my home.
Show up.
I must show
up.
I will go before the Lord and have my spouse and have my children, even if I do not feel like saying, Father, in the name of Jesus, here we are this morning, he will say it.
Okay.
Because the spirit in him is firm.
Yes.
Not aggressive.
Not aggressive. I hear you. And honestly, this is a huge thing. I realize we are tackling an elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Do you realize?
Yes.
We are really tackling an elephant today. And now that we have made this very important differentiation, which is really extremely helpful, maybe go right ahead and help us to understand even a little bit more. What are some of the typical traits of aggressiveness as our boys interact with society? So now specifically these young boys, as they interact with society, what are some of the typical traits of aggressiveness that they display? Because sometimes parents may not realize that the boy is aggressive. They just think he's okay.
Our children start to interact with society when they start communicating, when they start crawling, when they start bubbling words, when they start, So the immediate, network of their interaction are their siblings at home. And they're fighting for a banana. And they're trying to pull that cup away from their siblings.
Yes.
Instead of expressing the support and help me with the cup. They are moving to kindergarten and they are literally fighting while biting. The teachers in kindergarten have demonstrated why they need to support of parents to stop the children from fighting. Anything small, he's taken my pen, and they want to fight back and bite each other in the forehead. That is aggressiveness. That child is growing in an environment where it is fighting for everything. You cannot ask or be polite. And that's where the support comes from, external support from the teachers. The other typical example of aggressiveness is how the children communicate, even to their teachers, even to their parents. If you find a child throwing tantrums and you want to triple over everybody to just go and hug his daddy, he has no clue that you can actually ask, excuse me, or make a sign of passing by someone and your daddy is right here. He wants to step on you and run and hug his daddy because his daddy is back home. That is aggressiveness.
That is aggressiveness
in the language
surrounded by something very positive, that there is a relationship between him and the dad. Absolutely. And he wants to rush and hug the dad.
At the expense
of others around him.
Yes. And please note, while he steps on them, he's being violent or she's being violent and he's being rude. When we don't address our children, supporting them to remain firm, I want to see my daddy, I want to see my mommy. But here between them, I have to find a way of slowly walking without hurting people, without being rude. Our children are growing to primary schools. They do not want to listen to instructions. For many reasons, they are responding, they are being rude to their teachers. Go to head teachers in primary schools, they will tell you the spirit of aggressiveness is very loud at that level.
It is.
7 years to 12 years. They're being the body language is showing, yes, I'm late. Another teacher was telling us, I have even told that boy to stand up in class and actually give an answer and speak loud. And the child refused to stand. That is aggressiveness in the body language.
Or could it have been a lack of confidence and low esteem? Mistaken as aggressiveness?
Lack of confidence. The body language in many times will still demonstrate fear. He's not fearing. He's looking straight.
The chest is all out and...
He's looking straight in the eye of the teacher, almost telling him, do not talk to me like that.
Wow.
And he will not move. By the time the child is responding like that, someone at home, parent or guardian, should have noticed something like that and failed in a way to address it. Probably directly or indirectly. We move now to secondary and university, tertiary institutions, where they can speak, the voices are big, the chests are big, he can stand and look at you.
A few more beards have increased, so...
So he stands in front of you as a mentor, as a teacher, as a lecturer, and he's almost pulling your ear.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, he looks very strong. When he starts to speak and communicate to you, he's simply saying, I heard what you told me, but I wasn't able to do the homework. Okay? I don't have the coursework. So what next? What can I do? There's firmness, but aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Aggressiveness means I don't care how you feel, dear lecturer, I am communicating. That boy is going to grow and leave university and get a job. In the workspace, even a small communication of we report to work at 8 a.m.
Yes.
He's responding to his supervisor and he's simply saying, it rained, I don't have a car. He will simply say, I could make it on time. Or sometimes he will just keep
talking back at people in authority with arrogance.
Back at people. Just 3 days ago, I was interacting with the warden of a school that I will protect and not mention. And he was just sharing to say, observe these boys and how they are talking to me in front of their parents.
Yes.
And they are standing and holding themselves by the waist. And they are talking to their warden. And he was very firm and said, parents, please discourage this kind of behavior. Because the demeanor is not humble at all.
Yeah.
And from here we are training them to go out and start getting jobs to earn a living. Nobody will speak to an employer like that.
Of course.
They will survive.
Of course.
I want to take you now quickly to those dear men who are employed and have identified girls to marry. Now he is in charge. He is going to be a husband.
He is in a relationship with a girl.
One of the character traits of an aggressive human being is lack of listening.
Okay.
If they listen to respond and not listen to understand.
So that is just hearing, not listening.
Yes, they hear but not listening.
Yeah.
I am talking about that whole lineage for you to appreciate that this husband today grew up from a certain home.
Yes.
Went to a certain school, was nurtured in a way or two. Even in church, it is time to stand and praise and worship. That character can decide not to stand. And so everybody is standing and praising and worshiping and putting up their hands.
He's seated.
And he's seated. They feel important. The ego that has no area to be properly addressed. Not at home, not in church.
Yes.
For the non-Christians, not in the mosque. They are just growing human beings, but they are not children.
Yes.
Girls or boys.
Yeah.
And the subject today is drawing our attention to supporting, raising, mentoring, coaching this boy to become firm.
Okay.
And not aggressive.
Yes. I hear you. So they throw tantrums, they have violence towards others, they are characterized by rudeness, they push their way through, they don't listen to instructions, they talk back at people in authority with a lot of arrogance, they have poor listening skills and a deep, feeling of self-importance. What a bunch of human beings. What do you think causes this kind of aggressiveness? Where does this aggressiveness come from? Is it a natural trait? Is it acquired? What is it? Where does this come from?
In many ways, it is nurtured.
Okay.
How? I started with the small indicators in our homes. Sometimes we see them as parents and guardians, and we don't understand them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't pay attention to them many times because we equally don't know how to identify them. It's possible for a parent in a home to see a bad behavior and not quickly identify it's a bad behavior. And parents are parents. We want to give our children a second chance, a third chance. So you keep thinking, they will outgrow it.
Yeah.
That is the nurturing of the
You don't give everything a second chance. You don't give a snake a second chance when it enters your home.
But in this case, we are dealing with our children.
Mm-hmm.
So we always want to see the best out of them. That is category 1 of nurturing a bad behavior of aggressiveness.
Out of the ignorance of the parent.
Out of the ignorance.
Innocent ignorance.
Innocent ignorance of a parent. By the time we realize it is a bit too late.
Yes.
That is when now other people around us, our support system, the people in charge of our children at school, the administrators are starting to point out these things. Okay? In our reports, in our, the other area I would tell you is parents being absent when our children are growing.
And I think that's huge.
A very, very significant cause of children getting to where they are in terms of being aggressive. The things around them, the messages they watch, the TV stations they watch are demonstrating very many characters. And they are the ones that are raising our children emotionally, spiritually.
Causing them to be very aggressive.
And our parents are not present to see what the children are watching.
Yeah.
To see what they're internalizing. To see the language they are slowly talking about. To see how they're interacting with community. Because we are too busy.
TB.
We are also genuinely looking for income for these children.
While losing the children for whom we are looking for the income.
Yes.
So what kind of priorities are those? Somebody recently did what he thought was cracking a joke, but it was a very practical thing to think about. He said, ladies in this room, we were at some place, he said, you ladies in this room, you get your bag, you put it in your bedroom, and you lock the bedroom as you're going to work because you don't want the maid to, touch your bag and pick your money or something. But then you leave her with your child. So what is more important, your child or your bag? That you would rather even lock the child in the bedroom and leave the maid with the bag than vice versa. Quite an extreme, but it was bringing out a certain message.
I agree.
We lock the bedroom because we don't want these people to touch anything in our bedroom, but we have left the child, a precious child, into their hands, and they are going to raise them up for the next 7 years while we are very busy. A question of priorities.
And that's why we come down to apportioning responsibility. 60% of that responsibility of ensuring our children grow up with the values that we require them to have lies in the hands of parents and guardians. The 40% is distributed amongst everybody else that is external.
I'm even tempted to think we've given the external people too much. I'm tempted to put it like at 80% for the parent or even 90%, especially at the formative stages of the child.
I agree. So we are looking at the responsibility of who looks at the growth of the firmness of a boy and the aggressiveness of a boy.
Yeah.
And how do we get to a point where we are supporting even the aggressive boys to becoming firm boys? Because all is not lost.
So that again, we don't hit them trying to remove the aggressiveness, and we now leave them with the passiveness.
Yes.
That's a big challenge.
Because it's also possible.
Of course.
When they overly, any human being, when you overly bang the negative to them, they withdraw.
Yes.
And we are supporting this boy to be able to express himself, but in a firm way, in a respectful way.
Okay.
In whatever state they may be, they're important citizens. And I want to quickly take you back to the 25%. Those men.
Yes.
We need to amplify them. We need to create a platform for them to speak out.
And this is one of those platforms. I've had a number of them come here. They have shared interesting personal experiences, amazing stories of how they've been leading their lives. Some of them have been married for 50 years. Some of them have been in marriage for 10 years, but they have an amazing journey and great experiences to share.
And those experiences must be replicated.
Yes.
Not just on platforms like this. Because majority of our aggressive men
are not watching TV.
Don't even have time to watch TV.
Yeah, they are in the
Moreover, a Christian TV like this, they won't even bother with it.
Yeah.
We need to find them at the point where they are.
Exactly. So, it's caused by innocence, innocent ignorance of the parents who just don't know how to look at the aggressive behavior and call it out immediately. It's caused by absent parents, especially as the children are growing up. This is huge. And now, regarding especially the father's role in creating a safe home for these children to thrive in, I know that you've had a number of conversations even under Rotary Club and in the different things that you do concerning aspects of the homes where these boys and their sisters come from and how they impact on how they become either firm or aggressive. So regarding a father's role in creating a safe home for the children to thrive in, what have you found out, especially in line with boys?
One of the key things in the journey of mentoring the boys in communities, the very outstanding challenge we found out is that the men, the daddies, are like policemen.
Many
the ones
of
who
them
are available. Many of them are like policemen. In fact, others call them CIDs.
In their approach to parenting.
In their approach to parenting.
Yes.
And that's why as he opens the door, as he's hooting at the gate to return home, people are disappearing. They come greet him and they disappear. That's not a safe place.
Yes, yes.
Okay? He hasn't cultivated a free environment to talk and discuss and consult. And even allow the children to make mistakes, because children are children, you know.
They can't operate like others.
Absolutely. So there's a challenge of our parents, especially the male parents, daddy, uncle, grandfather, because of how we know that they're supposed to be firm. Firmness, but with a lot of aggression, creates fear in the children at home. And so they will not come to the table to discuss freely any changes in their bodies, any changes with what they see in the different environments. So they'll just coil and be quiet.
The challenges they are facing even outside the home.
Yes.
At school and everything.
And so when they get out, they're like released dogs. They're all over. They're trying this, they're trying... Oh, I saw something in his mind. I saw something. Someone was trying to smoke. He cannot come to ask his father about the disadvantages of smoking, disadvantages of drinking alcohol, disadvantages of abusive language. Because his father, his uncle, his grandfather has not been able to create a safe place to talk without being scorned, without being judged. So that is very key. Environment is not free.
But there is no freedom to make mistakes.
Exactly.
There is the police approach to parenting, and there is closer communication.
After that, there's another challenge of not being examples. Children do things in articulation of what they've seen, more than what they've heard. Tell him he must go to bed after praying. He will not pray. Pray with him before you go to bed. He will know that that's the right thing to do. So we are many times absent in the space of our children learning the basic values of someone growing up. So if you haven't led someone to do what they're supposed to do in terms of basic values like praying before eating, praying before going to bed, praying in the morning before you start your day, we are not there to demonstrate that. that's not a safe spiritual place to be or to raise our boys.
Okay.
So when you talk about praying as that child is growing, they will be fed up. What is this praying thing about? That is at school. That is the aggression I'm talking about. Yet at home, our fathers, being the heads of the family, that is their responsibility, amongst other responsibilities.
I hope their helpers are coming along. We sometimes forget what it means to be a helper, and we still keep sounding like the man should do it all. So we now start to wonder, so what is the place of the helper?
The helpers are doing it.
For example, when that
I
man
mentioned
is struggling to
earlier.
lead the prayer, I thought the helper would come along to give the support in those moments when he is weak, because part of why there is aggressiveness among men is expecting them to be supermen who never make any mistake, who are never weak, who should perform 365 days of every week, I mean every year. So they have no moments of weakness where they also need the support. So then we invalidate the relevance of the helper.
And right there, Coach Samuel, I've shared in one network to say that everybody that the Lord created requires help and support, including the men in our homes.
Especially the men in our homes.
I love that. Especially the men and women.
The Creator knew that he would need the help, and he said, let me create a helper.
So we also have a challenge or responsibility in the category of children and wives or female spouses at home to identify that he needs help. Today he needs support. Today he's very tired. Today something is really bothering him. He will not pray. He will not lead the prayer. But let's lay hands on him and pray for him. He will not provide 1,000,000 shillings that we need. But I have 2 million shillings. I will get 1 million and give it to him. That is the help. We must create that support for the families to go.
All right. So when you look at this father who has failed to create a free environment, now there is no freedom to make mistakes, there is the police approach to parenting, the communication is closed, there is no modeling. What would you tell him to do in order to create a safer home for the children?
The first thing is to be objective. Objective parenting sometimes requires to allow for a win-win situation.
Yes.
My children are very noisy. I don't have to shout back at them. But every time I see that they are rowdy, I will try and join them, identify with them, and then sit down with them, and then ask them, is it a good thing to communicate, to be loud, to be all over the place all the time? It's okay to play.
Yeah.
It's morning, we have neighbors. Okay? It is a Sunday morning. Our environment, our values, Christian values, require that in the morning on Sunday you're preparing to go to church.
Yes.
Not to scream and shout all over the place. In the morning we wake up to do chores. So what is the responsibility? How can the fathers instill this support in children?
And make the home safer for them.
Exactly. First of all is to identify, meet the children at the point where they are at, becoming their friends in the space of where they find them. Did you hear me saying if he finds them shouting and playing, he can join them, even if it's for 2 minutes? It is called
shouts together with them.
It is called playing, and whatever the activity is, it is called identifying with them.
Because for them, they don't think they are shouting and making
That's
noise.
it.
For them, they think they are playing. They are.
That
you know, Jennifer.
It's very difficult, very hard.
I don't know your childhood background. But you know, there are some people who have had these kinds of backgrounds whereby a child, maybe in the villages down in Nyabitete, somewhere in Masaka, somewhere in Akwomoru, you know, somewhere in Ngora, somewhere in Mitoma, those upcountry places. Childhood, that innocent childhood was very interesting and amazing. In a sense of a child would leave home, maybe they have said go and fetch water from the well, pond, from the wherever the water was. And he goes there and finds there other children, and they start to play. They remove clothes. They are swimming in the river, in the streams, in the village, and they are so happy. They are playing those games where they slide, downhill. And by the time they come back home, the child looks like he is a bricklayer. Mud is all over the place, wet. Some parts of the short or the trouser are torn. And he's so happy, and he's feeling like today was the greatest day of his life. Now he reaches home and they say, come here, lie down. And they give him 5 canes. And so in his mind, this little boy is so confused. Today I had a wonderful time. I had a good time. I played with my friends. We really enjoyed. Why is mommy beating me? Why is daddy beating me for being happy? And I think that's where what you are talking about comes in. That before putting him down and saying, lie down, can we first talk and say, so what were you doing? Yeah. And then he tells you how they played and so on and so forth, and then you bring him down to an understanding that he delayed there, that he lost focus, he went into playing instead of fetching the water, and so on and so forth, and say, therefore there are some consequences, so please lie down. Now by the time you beat him, he understands why he's being beaten, not wondering, why are they beating me for being happy?
Coach Samuel, one time I decided to stop screaming and being aggressive to my children. Every time it's holiday time and there's so much music in my house. That day I decided to go and just join them in the music and dance with them.
Yes.
The first reaction was,
what?
And I was just dancing and I caught their attention, and that's what I wanted. The time for the dancing was wrong. It was time for chores in the morning.
So they were doing the right thing, only just at the wrong time. It was not that they were doing a wrong thing. Dancing was not wrong.
But the time
when they were dancing.
Okay. And the music is so loud.
So the problem again wasn't that they played music, but the volume of the music.
Yes, at 9 in the morning. So somehow they felt something was wrong. Even if I looked happy and I was dancing so they all stood and looked at me. One of them just stopped the music. And I said, my friends, I really think we can dance, we can have our music after the chores are done, after we have showered, after the house is in order. Then we can have our me time. When you start this activity right now, you have a dirty house, you have disorganized environment is not ready for you to thrive as children. That was the last time I had music, I had dancing at the wrong time.
I thought you wanted to say
the
that was
message.
The last time you had music in the home.
No.
Because that was going to be dangerous.
No, they got the message very quickly. But the pain there is for us parents and guardians to identify that for some moment we can try and meet our children at the space and time where they are. Buy into their idea and then slowly bring them out to support them. Why? We are teaching a value.
Yes.
A value that creates firmness of character. I will not do this. I will not play before I do work, before I read, before I do my holiday work. And that is a discipline and firmness we are training our boys to be in future.
Okay. So these fathers can help out by being objective in their parenting, by meeting children where they are, and buying into the children's idea first in order to teach the values for firmness of character.
Yes.
You are the chairperson of the of the Boy Child Uplifting Project under Rotary Club.
Yes, program.
How is the Rotary Boy Child Uplifting Program prepared to support the boy child out of aggressiveness into families that is healthy? What's going on at the moment?
Rotary works as a district 9213.
By the way, what's the coverage of district? We keep hearing district 921, 9213. We may think it's like Kampala district.
No.
What's the coverage of District 9213?
First of all, let's talk about Uganda alone.
Yes.
Uganda has 2 districts, Rotary districts.
Okay.
District 9213, where I belong,
Yes.
and District 9214, where I also belong, but by osmosis.
All right.
Okay?
Oh, so the whole country has 2 districts?
Yes.
Okay, now we have a sense of the district.
Yes.
Okay, so you
And
can go ahead.
partly District 9214 has an extension of Tanzania, but that's a story for another day.
Okay.
So let's come down now to the vision bearer, our district governor, Edward Pakembo Nsubuga, who is the current governor of District 9213. In that district, we have more than 120 Rotary clubs.
Yes.
And more than 118 Rotaract clubs.
Yes.
Through these clubs is where the execution of uplifting and supporting the boys is done. The actual work, these are spread through the entire country,
Okay.
but a little bit into the west. They're in the central, they're in the north, they're in the east, and a little bit into the west.
Okay.
The plan at the moment is to continue to identify in our communities where the need to support the boys in terms of education and education under basic education and literacy. That's a pillar, one of our pillars in Rotary.
Yes.
Of area of focus. And the second is to identify the boys that need to work and earn a living.
Okay.
Those are 2 areas.
Okay.
And so how have we prepared our boys to leave aggressiveness but become firm? The program, first of all, started with identifying the boys and supporting them through mindset change.
Yes.
Everything we've discussed today starts in the mind.
It does.
Supporting the boys to identify, first of all, their individuality. I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me if I come off as aggressive. If it is wrong, it can be corrected.
Yes.
Mindset change. So we are deliberately working with partners like Church of Uganda, that's why I'm here today, Fathers Union, your support, to speak into our boys and encourage them. Show them the journey that they can actually be different. Journey 2 is supporting to identify the things that they want to do differently. The ones in school to finish school, and the ones who need work and be skilled, the particular areas they have identified to work in. That's what Rotary is doing. We cannot do it alone, and we will not. What is happening in our journey of 5 years as the first piloting period is that we have partners. I said Church of Uganda, the Catholic Church, the Muslims. We talk about the Seventh-day Adventists. Those are now the Christian and non-Christian support partners. We talk about NGOs. We talk about government. We talk about all 360 degrees, the law enforcers in this country. All of them are key stakeholders, not to forget parents and guardians, not to forget schools and administrators in schools and tertiary institutions. All of these partners, we have approached them and given them, shared with them a plan of how we would want, at their point of service, to support our boys.
Yes.
But very importantly, starting with mindset change. And that is the journey of Rotary.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing is that as the Rotary Boy Child Uplifting Program, you're focused largely, in my language, on basic literacy for the boy, so that he can continue and even finish school, and then also income generation, so that these 2 can help out in mindset change, in character development, and also economic empowerment.
Absolutely.
All right. I see we just have about 4 minutes to end.
Oh,
for 5
already?
minutes
My
to end
God.
this program.
Okay.
You know, 2 days from now, we are going to be celebrating the Uganda Matters.
Oh, yes.
Celebrating
That
Uganda
June.
Matters Day. As we remember those 45 firm young boys. 45 firm young boys who were firm enough to die for their faith.
Oh, yes.
I am here wondering whether the boys in our homes can be that firm, can have, you know, that desire to be that steadfast in what we have taught them, in what they believe in, even to the point of death. It is a very challenging thought when you come to reflect upon it. And so as we come to the end of this program, what do you think it will take for today's parents, you and I, to raise such farm boys who will become men of conviction in the coming days?
The 20, as you talk about the 45, I'm thinking about the 22 boys, martyrs, who are Catholics,
Yes.
and the 23 who are
We are
Anglicans.
Yes. And those are the 45.
But I want to single out Chizito, the youngest, Chizito Muto,
Yes, yes.
who
One of
died
those.
at 14 years old. He was the
14 years.
youngest among the 45.
Yes.
There's something there, even when I keep reading about him. The firmness at that age did not come at 14 years. It started way down when he was very young. What does that tell you? It simply tells you that that value, character,
Yes.
support needs nurturing.
Okay.
And that's where I want to conclude this conversation. Our parents, the parents that we have, the parents that we are, the parents that we are building in our children need to be firm, need to set clear guidelines, need to be available to demonstrate them. Be available to demonstrate that you can be a firm and steadfast human being, for your child to emulate that. That even when today there's a brown envelope, when no one is watching as a daddy,
Yes.
when there's a brown envelope of bribe, because you're a Christian, you will not take it. That is the firmness we are talking about. If it doesn't belong to you, it's not your money.
Yes.
Our children need to know that this is possible
Yes.
under all circumstances, for them to emulate that character.
Yes.
For them, it may not be sacrificing their lives as martyrs. It may be sacrificing their honesty and integrity. And that's why I gave an example of the brown envelope.
Yes.
Okay? So we need to be available for our children to know and see what we are doing. We need to be consistent. Don't break the chain of doing right. And finally, we need to create a safe place for our children to express themselves when they are at home. That will support them to go out and be able to express themselves to the society that they live in. For me, those three, if properly executed to our children, we are good to go.
Interesting.
Yes.
Farm parenting.
Yes.
In fact, as you are watching right now, immediately after watching this, especially if you are watching online on YouTube or you are on TV, you can now go to YouTube and search Bold Parenting Again.
Oh, yes.
Bold Parenting Again. Dash Samuel A. Bakutana. Bold Parenting Again. Then you will get to see what we are talking about here when we say farm parenting. And setting clear guidelines, being available to demonstrate these values and not breaking the chain of doing right. These are very important things
Oh,
that
yes.
Jennifer is bringing to our attention. And so, as we come to the end of this, it's important to remember, 16th of every May, every year, is the International Day of the Boy Child. And this year, the theme was Cool Boys, managing anger and aggression. Just a few months ago, Shule Foundation in Uganda indicated that 98% of full-time street children in Uganda are boys, with an estimated 16 new arrivals every day. They indicated that 125 million boys globally don't attend school, which surpasses the number of the girls. They indicated that 88 million boys globally are subjected to child labor. They also indicated that 1 out of every 6 boys goes through sexual assault. And they also said that 7 out of 8 child soldiers recruited are always boys. And males account for 80% of suicides, and they are more likely to become victims of corporal punishments. Probably these are things that end up making them very aggressive in life. And the big picture of this program today was that we need to create an enabling environment within which these boys can be firm without becoming aggressive. So how can we address these issues in our personal lives, but also in our families, in the communities we are in, and also in our nations? We need a concerted effort, like Jennifer has rightly brought it to us. The faith leaders, you have a lot of work to do. Government entities, you have a lot to do. Some of us who are in private work, private business, we have a lot of work to do. But most especially as parents, we have a lot to do. This very morning, a lady sent me a message on WhatsApp, and she was telling me how the father has had no communication with them, no relationship. They are so detached. Every time she has been calling, the father to ask for anything, the father bashes her and sends her back to the mother. If you are that kind of a father, it's time for you to look in the mirror, reflect upon it, and see whether you are creating the right environment in your home for your children to thrive. The big question is, can we create a better environment for our children to thrive? And most especially, our boys, in the context of today's program. And so, thank you very much, Jennifer, today for coming and for sharing these rich nuggets of wisdom on our topic.
Thank you.
Thank God you were born, and you were born when you were born.
Oh, yes.
In this very generation.
Oh, yeah.
And for that matter, as we sign out this program, I know that 2 days ago was your birthday.
Oh, my
30th of
goodness.
May, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
So happy,
my-
belated birthday.
Thank you,
And
thank you,
I have a
thank you.
small
Oh,
gift
my
for
goodness.
you. Happy belated birthday, our guest today.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you very much for the work
Thank you.
that you do.
Oh, my
There are a
goodness.
number of
This
other
is
small
so
things in
beautiful.
here.
My
We
God.
really wish you a happy belated
Coach
birthday.
Sam. Oh,
Thank you
my
very much
goodness.
for thinking about the boys.
Goodness,
Thank you
this
very
is so
much
sweet.
for thinking about families and for choosing to do something about it.
This is so
We
beautiful.
appreciate you,
Thank you.
and we wish you good and healthy life.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you.
well. Live,
I know.
love,
And
and live.
thank
Just one wife, that you need the leadership skills of a general
Yes.
to lead an army of one woman.
So we have to take a lot of pain, a lot of effort to teach children how to get along with one another.
Your raw material is money,
Of course,
but it is not your money.
it is not
That is
yours.
the biggest challenge. So if you do not fear God, you will end up misappropriating this money and taking it to be your own. Yet it is just what you're using to do the work that you're doing.
So ego is very dangerous to me, and we should avoid the extremes.
This program exists to equip, challenge, and empower men to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV.